Coming up next on We Are Marshall Today, the university community remembers Martin Luther King Jr. We'll take you to a local ceremony.
Plus, reporters around the state gather at Marshall for a briefing on this year's legislative session. These stories plus more up next on We Are Marshall Today. Hi and welcome to We Are Marshall Today. I'm Leah Clark Payne.
And I'm Dan Hollis. West Virginia's legislative session is underway, and topping the agenda are budget questions.
In an effort to better understand those issues and others, reporters from around the state gathered on Marshall's South Charleston campus a few weeks ago for a briefing. More than 24 reporters, editors, and columnists went back to class in early January for a primer on legislative issues certain to surface this session. Organizers say the annual event is absolutely beneficial to the state's fourth estate.
This probably goes back a decade now. We've been having an annual legislative preview session. The idea is a lot of reporters come down to cover the session, but it's important for editors to understand it as well. So we bring in some of the leaders of the legislature and of the state, and we set up presentations on some of the top issues of the day.
Heather Henline with the Intermountain newspaper in Elkins agrees the annual briefing is helpful, and particularly so this year.
With the status of the governorship and redistricting, education, a lot of top issues are coming up, and there are a lot of questions that media wants to ask, and this provides an opportunity for us to be able to do that in one fell swoop.
Acting Governor Earl Ray Tomblin and other state officials attended the day's session to offer reporters insight on issues which might play out differently across the state.
And that's one of the reasons I like the question answer, because what may be important in Huntington may not be important in Wheeling or vice versa. So it does give you a statewide perspective of what's on people's minds, what's important to people in their particular communities. So I think it's a good forum.
Marshall University hosts the event every January, an effort Vice President Rudy Pauley applauds.
It's an important part of Marshall's service to the community. It gives all the various entities the opportunity to look at what's going to happen in the legislature. We have several different panels. The governor just spoke. It's a wonderful opportunity to get that look ahead to the legislative experience.
West Virginia's legislative session began January 12th. Should be an interesting legislative session. If you missed Acting Governor Earl Ray Tomblin's State of the State address, you can watch it by logging on to Marshall's YouTube site. Joining us now to talk about one of Marshall's newest programs is Dr. Kevin Yingling, who is the newly named Dean of the School of Pharmacy here at Marshall University. Welcome to the show.
Leah, thank you very much. It's good to be here. It's good to be part of We Are Marshall Today.
Wow, what exciting news for Marshall University, development of a School of Pharmacy. Where are we in this development process?
Right. Well, it's a long process, and it has to be a thoughtful process. And where we're at today is that just recently we made the pre-candidate application to the accrediting body, and that accrediting body will now review the resources and the attributes of this particular school and the School of Pharmacy. We're very excited about that. There should be some feedback from them very soon, and this will help us along that pathway to the introductory class in 2012. So a really exciting opportunity.
What type of groundwork do you have to lay? What type of foundation do you have to lay before you even go before the accrediting board? Well,
this process has been going on since 2009. So the university undertook an internal exploration as well as an external exploration with consultants to assure the university that this was the right next step for all of the programs here at Marshall University. So the School of Pharmacy has really been in development now for probably almost 18 months. So as it passes through those processes that are important to a university and a public institution, it has been properly vetted within the institution for the internal review. And it was felt that this was a great opportunity for the university. The Board of Governors gave their full support on multiple occasions through that process. Probably the most important was December of 2009 when the Board of Governors said this was a very important program and the next step for the university. Then after that, external reviews and consultants came to make sure that the resources of the university were proper for an interdisciplinary education. You know, the university has a great deal of resources and positive resources through the School of Medicine, through the College of Health Professions. It's just some of those examples. And those external consultants said that the facilities were outstanding, the plans were outstanding, the faculty were outstanding, and this was very definitely a positive step for the university. In the fall, there was a review with the external accrediting bodies to make sure that they felt the same way, and they gave their kind of validation that we were in the right process. And now the application has been made. That application will be reviewed, and then there'll be that process of site visits and those things. Probably the next most important aspect of this will be hiring the initial faculty, hiring the leadership team that will move the school forward. Very exciting time.
How was it determined that West Virginia could sustain a third medical school?
Well, I think there's probably two aspects to the new School of Pharmacy. The first would be, is there a need for pharmacists in this country? And there's a significant need for pharmacists in this country. And there's a particular need in West Virginia. So there's national benchmarking organizations that look at what is the supply and the demand for pharmacists. And what's important about this is that West Virginia is in the top 10% of states in this country that have a demand for pharmacists. So we clearly need pharmacists in West Virginia. The second part would be, is there a need within the educational structure within West Virginia? And clearly the next step would be a public institution providing pharmacy education. I think there's strong attributes of Marshall University, a need for a pharmacy program in this state, and this is the right next step for both Marshall University and for the state.
Let me switch gears for just a second. You've been with Marshall School of Medicine for 2 decades. How do you feel about this change? Are you excited about it?
Oh, I'm very excited about this. I think that in my own self-reflection on this, I have a great passion for the practice of pharmacy. My first degree was in pharmacy. Marshall University gave me my start towards that degree. I'm a graduate of West Virginia University School of Pharmacy. So I still have a great passion for the opportunities of pharmacy. I think we're in an interesting time for pharmacy. It's a transition time from what I would call the dispensing aspects of pharmacy to the clinical care aspects of pharmacy. And if you look at interdisciplinary education and then team-based practice, the pharmacist fits very nicely into what the future of the healthcare system is going to be. So part of this excitement comes from my continued interest in the practice of pharmacy. And the other was obviously my background in graduate medical education for the last 20 years. I feel gives me a lot of experiences and skills and hopefully resources that I can be effective as a leader in the new school.
As far as pharmacy education goes, I hear the term PharmD. Explain to me and to the audience the difference between pharmacy education 20, 30 years ago and a PharmD program.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I guess I have the fortune of being old enough to live through that transition, so it feels very comfortable to me. So previous to the 1990s, the terminal degree for pharmacy was a Bachelor of Science degree, or a BS, a bachelor degree in pharmacy. And after that, you would then be licensed and you would be a registered pharmacist. So when you see that term after a person's name that says RPH, or registered pharmacist, that allows them to practice pharmacy, and that was the degree at that time. There was a transition to clinical pharmacy, and there was really an effort made to educate pharmacy students so that they could actually practice in a more clinically relevant way, moving away from the traditional dispensing activities of pharmacy. Still important, still valuable, but moving the pharmacist to the clinical side. And that's when we transitioned into what's now called the pharmacy, or the Doctor of Pharmacy, PharmD degree. And that training has required a lengthening of the training curriculum and educational curriculum for the students. It's brought more clinical experiences in. And in fact, the 4th year of education for a pharmacy student is specifically in clinical aspects of pharmacy, and that would be ambulatory care, hospital-based care, specialty care like cardiology and oncology, really moving the pharmacist to the forefront of maximizing the benefit of drug therapy.
Just one last question. You're going to be housed, the school pharmacy will be housed at the Kuhn building at the VA out in Spring Valley, in the Spring Valley area of Huntington. Tell me a little bit about that before we wrap up here.
Right. Well, this is a really exciting part about the new School of Pharmacy. And one of the things that all the reviewers, internal and external, were really excited about, and that is that the institution has made a commitment to renovate the Kuhn Medical Education Building. So that medical education building was the cornerstone of medical education for the medical school for many years. With the recent advancements of the Biotechnical Center and the Byrd Clinical Center on the campus of the medical school, the faculty and the students moved away from that building. So this wonderful structure is set there kind of partially occupied now for about 12 to 24 months. Now we'll have the opportunity to build the new School of Pharmacy and the pharmacy practice site, and the educational curriculum will fit right into that building. It's on the grounds of the Veterans Administration Medical Center. It continues that great relationship that we have with the Veterans Administration Medical Center, which is the reason for why the medical school was started here 25, 30 years ago. So this is an outstanding opportunity. It will be state-of-the-art. It will be smart classrooms. It will be e-connected. So we're very excited about that, and I think the students will find that to be a great home, a great place for them to receive their education.
All right, Dr. Kevin Yingling, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
More of We Are Marshall today after this.
As you think about your future, who's your competition? Who are your chief competitors? I notice some of you looking to your right and left at your neighbors. You need to think bigger, much bigger. Choose Marshall University. Big enough to matter, small enough to care. Immerse yourself in your learning. Connect with your professors. And have fun learning. That's important too. Find your passion. Pursue your dreams. Marshall University.
My name's Emily, and in 7 years, I'll be an alcoholic. I'll start drinking in 8th grade, but my parents won't really notice because I'll do okay in school and everything will seem okay, but everything won't be okay.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults. So start talking before they start drinking.
The Marshall University community and others marked the annual Martin Luther King Jr. observance with a service at Johnson Memorial United Methodist Church earlier this month. Actor Jim Lucas, who is known for portraying Dr. King, was the keynote speaker for this year's celebration.
Rise up, live out the true meaning of his creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream.
Lucas's performances have been characterized as exceptionally authentic. He has appeared on numerous television shows in character. Marshall University also encouraged students, faculty, and staff to volunteer on MLK Day to recognize Dr. King's commitment to community.
Celebrating our country and the Constitution are the underlying themes for the annual Dan O'Hanlon John Marshall Constitution Week essay competition. The university announced the competition earlier this year, which carries with it up to $1,500 in prize money. Students have until September 1st to submit their entries. More information is available by contacting the College of Liberal Arts. Marshall University recruiters are gearing up for Green and White Day, scheduled for Monday, February 21st. The recruiting event allows high school students to visit campus and speak with representatives about Marshall and what it has to offer. Hundreds of students are expected at February's Green and White Day. Another open house is planned for April.
The West Virginia State Capitol will be awash with green and white in March. The annual Marshall Day at the Capitol event is scheduled for Wednesday, March 2nd. This year's celebration takes on special significance as Marshall marks its 50 years as a university. Founded in 1837, Marshall is the state's oldest public institution and earned university status in 1961.
Well, Dan, Marshall University students return to campus January 10th for the spring semester.
And despite the frigid weather, students headed back to class to get ready for another term. Marshall University students kicked off the second semester during one of the snowiest weeks so far this winter. Many students returning from winter break say they welcome the spring semester and the chance to move a little closer to a degree. Junior journalism major Kelly Bailey says she's been through the semester transition several times and advises younger students to quickly get back to a routine.
Just pay attention, come to class. I think that's the most important thing. When I was a freshman, I didn't really get the importance of being here. I thought as long as I did the assignments, I'd be good. But coming to class is probably the most important thing.
Graduate student Nick Palkin is in his second semester of grad school and is hoping for a little easier term than his first.
I think just really that you know, I can handle what's put in front of me as long as I stay focused and stay on task and you know, just make sure that I'm paying attention to what's going on around me and coming to class.
Both Palkin and Bailey say they welcome the return to classes. And besides, spring break is just a few short weeks away. Joining us now to talk about some spring semester events is Maurice Cooley, who is director of the Center for African American Student Programs here at Marshall University. Mr. Cooley, thanks for joining us.
It's good to be here.
February is a busy month, and the spring semester entirely is a busy time for your office. But February is African American History Month, Black History Month.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about Huntington's connection to it.
Well, Huntington indeed has a connection to Black History Month. And it began essentially with a former Huntingtonian, Carter G. Woodson. And Carter is actually, he was born and raised in Virginia, Newton, Virginia. And he came here as a teenager with his family because they had heard that there was a new black school that was opening in Huntington, West Virginia, which is Douglas High School. And so Carter and his parents moved to West Virginia, and he eventually did attend Douglas High School, graduated from Douglas High School, eventually taught in Fayette County, but came back and was a principal at Douglas High School for several years. Now, Carter G. Woodson went on to obtain his bachelor's degree from Berea College. He's attained his master's degree, and later his PhD from Harvard University. Carter G. Woodson is also known as the father of Black history, of African American history. And back in the early 20s, in fact, 1925, he founded an association which was called the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, because he was concerned as an African American scholar and historian that primarily within the United States, within our country, there was very little information relevant to the contributions of African Americans to our history and our culture. And he was quite disturbed about that. Not only there was a lack of information, but the little information that was shared in writing and in our schools and university was oftentimes incorrect. And so the association was developed for that purpose. The association began, and they promoted through his initiative and through his efforts, of course, in 1926, began what was called African American History Week. And that week coincided with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and another African American scholar and historian, Frederick Douglass. But it was not until, I believe in 1976, exactly 50 years later, during our bicentennial, that it was changed from African American History Week or for Black History Week to the entire month. So the February became the entire month of African American History Month. And at that time, the president of the country was Gerald Ford, and he was the one who announced it formally to the country that from this point on, in February, that in our country will be recognized as African American History Month. And so from that point on, we are here to celebrate that.
Well, among the events that you have planned for that month is the Soul Food Feast. Tell us a little bit about it.
Exactly. That is one of many events that we have during the month of February. And I think that is actually the first event of 6 or 7 different types of initiative programs we're having. That's a fun event, and it's typically, I think as always, is the first Sunday in the month of February. And so this year will be on Sunday, February the 6th at 2 p.m. And it's here at the Memorial Student Center in our upstairs dining room, which is a very nice venue for that. And this is a time where it is open to students and faculty and folks from all over the community, and it has developed a fairly strong reputation, and that folks will typically go to church, and after church they'll come over to the university and we'll celebrate with the Soul Food Feast. And so as such, we have traditional African American dishes, and some are tasty and some are controversial, but we have a range that includes chitlins and fried chicken and barbecued ribs and collard greens and cornbread and rolls and a lot of desserts, and it's a time where we can enjoy African American dishes, but certainly it's a time where we can all come together as a community to enjoy the company of one another, to celebrate, have a good time. Oftentimes we haven't seen people in our community for quite some time, and it's a time to get caught up and just enjoy the time that we're spending together.
And more food on the event's menu. The Diversity Breakfast is coming up.
Oh yes, the Diversity Breakfast will be this year, let me look at my notes, on Friday, February the 18th. This is a huge annual affair for the university, and the Center for African American Student Programs, my office, facilitates the planning, but the planning for this event is planned through various other sectors of the university, certainly including student affairs and academic affairs and international programs. We're all come together and we plan this, and this is a huge event. We'll generally have around 285 to 300 faculty and students who attend the annual diversity breakfast. It begins 7:30 in the morning. It goes until about 8:50, so we get off early that day, and we squeeze in a lot of work and activity within that small time frame. But that is the time at the university where we formally celebrate the importance of diversity nationally, but particularly in the university and our campus community, and we really have a good time with that.
Well, Marshall University recently received some news about its graduation rates for blacks and whites.
It did.
Talk about the Education Trust and what that means.
Okay, so you're referring to a report that was released actually in August and September. Education Trust is a national firm. Education does policy analysis and research, and they release documents and reports and data and research, and they do studies on public schools, elementary schools, universities, private universities, and public universities. The study that they did during the month of August this year was called Big Gaps, Small Gaps: Why Some Universities Outperform Others in Graduation Rates for African American Students. And it was in that report where it had demonstrated, and there were lots of charts and graphs and a lot of data that reflected that on an average, African American students graduate at a 20% lesser rate than white students when they looked at the roughly 295 universities that was in this public schools study that they had that was performed. And I was well aware that as the director of African American students that nationally that African Americans tend to lag significantly behind white students in graduation rates. However, the report also reflected that there was a small number of schools, I think there was roughly 25 or 30 schools in our entire United States where African American students tended to graduate at equal or higher rates than white students. And Marshall University was listed as the number 23rd school where our students here, African American students here, graduate, in fact, identically at the same graduation rate as white students. And that was a feather in our cap because it is far reaching from the average rate of graduation when comparing rates between white and black students and other subpopulations. And so that was a compliment to us, and it certainly was recognition that was deserved. It's something that we were somewhat aware of.
Mr. Cooley, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. More We Are Marshall Today after this.
From the classroom straight to your computer.
I teach international marketing online 100%. I conduct this class from my office, from my home, and it is 24/7 available to students across the country. I would say this has been one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences, not only for me, for my students as well.
Nationally accredited, affordable, convenient. MU Online.
Prescription drug abuse and misuse is a serious problem. Taking inappropriately prescribed medication is just as dangerous and deadly as street drugs. So it's important for you to know it is illegal for you to share your medication or take medication prescribed to someone else.
Marshall University's women's tennis team started the season earlier this month with matches against Morehead State and Eastern Michigan.
The Herd is ranked number 53 in a preseason poll. Let's take a look at what some of them had to say before their opener.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to go to those tournaments, and you know, the USTA, ITA, NCAA, they always do a great job putting those events on. It's just a lot of fun to be a participant there and to represent Marshall.
I think as long as we're all there for each other and we're supporting each other. It was hard losing three players, but everyone else is pretty good, and a lot of people also came back. So as long as we're there to support each other, I'm sure it'll be fine.
I mean, there's no way you can play at a high level unless you've been practicing at it and playing at it. And I think that when you're just exposed to playing, and when you know you're going to have to play that high of a level, you just have to mentally prepare yourself for it.
It's a great group of kids. They work really hard. You know, you can't ask for any more. It's all I ask is to give 100% effort, you know, when they play, when we practice, and you know, you go out there and play hard and see what happens.
I'm hoping to maybe go to grad school. I'm in the English education program, so I'm hoping to teach, maybe get my master's in special education, but I'm not really sure yet, but I definitely want to teach.
I want to travel a little bit and play on the Pro Tour and see how that goes, but after that I'm definitely going to stay into tennis, either in coaching or maybe someday owning my own facility, and that would be the end goal, I think.
So I've been waiting all year, you know, to get started. It's first match. It's a long way. We'll probably be playing until the end of May, but you know, it's just a lot of fun to compete and just the challenge of keep getting better and see what we can do.
I'd like to go one step further than last year in the conference tournament and bring home a title. We came in second last year, and that wasn't a feeling that, I mean, we were proud of ourselves, but losing that match was not a feeling I want to feel again. So if we get there, I want to bring home the title this year.
And congrats to the Herd. The team swept its opening day doubleheader. Best of luck in the season. That's it for today's We Are Marshall Today. I'm Leah Clark-Payne.
And I'm Dan Hollis. Be sure and join us for the next We Are Marshall Today, where we take a look at Marshall happenings across the state. See ya.
As you think about your future, who's your competition? Who are your chief competitors? I notice some of you looking to your right and left at your neighbors. You need to think bigger, much bigger. Choose Marshall University. Big enough to matter, small enough to care. Immerse yourself in your learning. Connect with your professors and have fun learning. That's important too. Find your passion, pursue your dreams. Marshall University.